Welcome to On the Edge with Deneen Dias. Today, I'm thrilled to be talking with my guest, Deb Defer. Deb, will you please go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. My name is Deb Defer. I do go by Deb, which is fine. Just never call me Debbie. That's not a good option. I have been in the public accounting world for nearly 20 years. I've been doing accounting for many, many more years than that. I was originally with SS&G, which was a regional firm that was acquired by BDO in January of 2015. And I've been able to just really explore and develop myself in the technology world with my tenure with BDO. I was asked to lead their technology team, sat on a leadership team for that tenure. We took our practice from 12 million to 65 million in that 10 years. So pretty exciting stuff.
Wow. So, Deb, I feel like I've known you for 20 years. I think it would be more like maybe 10 years, well, maybe 12 years. Regardless, you have been a trailblazer in this space. I mean, there's so much that you've done in your career to evolve the practice to the cloud through the use of technology. But there's so much more involved in that with implementing the tech, talking to the client about how your services are different through the tech, training the talent at your firm about the tech. I mean, there's so many pieces of the puzzle. And what I think the hot off the press news is now you have a new role at Woodard where you're going to be able to help a lot of firms with your skills and years of experience and expertise. So would you please share what your new role is?
Oh gosh, yeah, I cannot tell you how thrilled I am to have the opportunity to work for Woodard. Instead of helping one organization, I'm going to have the ability to go in and help hundreds of organizations, Deneen. And I get goosebumps. I get so excited because what we've done at Woodard is develop a program for these firms to leverage. So many firms struggle, like you said, with the implementation. They also struggle in other areas on building out their CAS practice. So only focused on CAS, client accounting services, client advisory, and accounting services, whichever way you want to spell CAS. But we have a four stage engagement that we can do with clients. We do a discovery with clients. We go into the firms or BPO firms, and we really sit with them and understand where they are in the process of building out a CAS practice, whether they're just starting or they're mature. So we do a discovery. There's a lot entailed with that: assessing clients, assessing staff, assessing processes, assessing tech, assessing risk mitigation with tech provisioning, deprovisioning. Then we give the clients a deliverable. We can then go into the next stage.
Just pause. Sorry.
Sure.
Don't say client, say firm, because it gets confusing with client and firm client. So
You're right. That's a different.
Yeah, but because I think what you're doing is very unique, and so I just wanted to be, really clear. Is your client is a firm, so you're going to go into firms and you're doing a firm discovery of understanding how the firm is currently delivering CAS services, what their team is comprised of, what the firm's tech is, all of that, right? And so then,
right.
Not to cut you off, but I just wanted to clarify. So then. Go on. So you're going to do the firm discovery, and then you're going to go into the next phase, which is.
Thanks, Deneen, for the clarification. You're absolutely right. That lingo, right, it's set in your brain when you've been doing public accounting for so many years, but you're absolutely right. It is firms. Then the second stage is called design. So we actually will go in and work hand in hand collaboratively with these firms and their leadership and designated resources and really design a plan to get them from point A to point B. Maybe build out their marketing strategy, build out more of their processes, really evaluate. We've done the discovery. We know at that point where weak areas are or areas that need improvement, and then we can help with the design. Deliverable being a project plan that we can really help these firms, whether it's a CPA firm or a BPO firm, really strategically plan out the growth of CAS. And these engagements can go anywhere from 6 weeks to 2 years, right? It depends on what stage they are and where they want to come in the process, right? Stage 3 would be implementation. And I think this is something that firms are really going to want to leverage because there's so much tech out there. Deneen,
Yeah,
how many pieces of third-party apps can we connect to a Xero or a QuickBooks Online or a Sage Intacct? Like thousands, right? So we're going to be there alongside these firms and really help them implement. That's my passion. I love tech. I'm a nerd at heart. And so, having the ability to help so many different firms. And what's so unique is every firm is unique. So
right,
with the experience that I've had, right, being at a regional firm, then
right.
being in a beast of gorilla like BDO, I've got to really see and experience a lot of different ways of doing things,
And
right?
that's what, when I worked with you when you were at BDO, and when I say you were a trailblazer, I mean, you guys were off to the races building Video Drive first. You really built that, I think, before anybody else. And it's like the whole focus was driving a business forward and really helping small businesses drive forward. But you evaluated all the technology at all the offices in the accounting space, and then kind of narrowed it down to a couple and standardized. And that in itself is a beast. That's, and because you did it. I haven't done it. You've done it, but I know the undertaking that is. And so you've been there. You've done that. And so being able to go into a lot of firms that are, I mean, I can't tell you how many conferences we go to, a lot of the same conferences, right? And you've presented tech stack, tech stack, tech stack, but it's still the same question: is what tech do I use? And not only I think are firms trying to figure out what tech they can use to deliver these CAS services, clients don't know where to get help. And so if the firm kind of has their tech stack, they have, and you're going to be helping them with the biggest piece, which is implementation, right? Design it, putting process in place, and then being able to implement it for the client will pay for that. But it's a win-win, right? The firm wins because they're standardizing and using their tech stack that their team is going to get trained up on. But the client wins because the client needs help with this, just like firms need help with it. And I mean, you can speak because you've done a lot of the work with the clients too, and being able to,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead. I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah. You're spot on, Deneen. And just to give you a little fun fact, when I joined BDO, my job at SS&G was great. When I joined BDO, my job went on steroids, and I was able. They empowered me to go to our various offices, and I collected all the data. And there were 70 different pieces of technology being used a gazillion different ways. And
Yeah.
I came back and we pulled that data together, and we said, no, we're going to trim this down to 12. We're going to start with these 12, understanding that there's certain pieces of tech you can't eliminate because they're specific to a niche, right? And so, just having that wherewithal and the insight and the intel to be able to do that and then build the processes around it. I was in the weeds. I was the one creating the manuals and taking the snaggets and, how do you add a vendor? How do you add a customer? So there was so much involved, and I feel like it just took my career to the next level of where I could really focus and be extremely passionate. So we've had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do it again and again and again and again.
Yeah, well, in that implementation piece, so obviously I've been helping firms build a CAS practice, I think going on almost 16 years now. And, through my career, always tech first, like you, right? You automate first, right? Get your processes in place with your technology. And I've worked with a lot of firms that have tried to implement the technology, and they buy the tech, they join the accountants program, and then it's tough because they don't have the talent, or they give it, they sign a champion. Sometimes that champion doesn't want to be the champion because they have a day job, and now they're given a second job, and they don't really, I mean, everybody is saying like they're short staffed, clients' books aren't getting closed, and now you've got to take on a tech that you're going to implement and train your team. And so when you told me what you're going to be consulting and helping firms with, that's that implementation piece. I don't care what the technology is. That's where firms get really, struggle. I don't want to say they get stuck. They just really struggle. And then sometimes that person leaves, and then nobody else at the firms knows how to implement the tech, or maybe the tech was implemented wrong. And so can you speak more about that piece of it? Because I think that piece is what's really needed right now for accounting firms building CAS.
Well, I think it is important to get a champion, right? We all know that you have to have somebody doing it. But what's most important, Deneen, is that you have leadership support and that they can designate individuals that maybe aren't 100% billable and that can spend the time and
Spend
really
time.
understand the tech. One of my biggest priorities when I really started getting involved with tech, I remember I went into the managing partners way back in the SS&G space, and I said to them, you know, I want to start going to a lot of these conferences. I want to walk that vendor floor. I need to understand this technology and the way it works and get some use cases. And so what I promised them was that I would go to other individuals within the firm, and I would go to these conferences with 4 to 6 to 8 problems. I have a client that needs XYZ. I have, you know, and so I could find tech, I could bring it back, we could test it on that given client, right? And solve a problem and get an ROI. So it would pay for me for all the conferences because I was reselling it when I came back, right? So that's a really good place to start. Is leadership needs to be on board. The typical accounting is billable. You got to be billable 80%. You have to have so much productivity. You have to have so much
Right.
realization, and over and over. And it's a never-ending cycle. And that's because that we're professional services, just like attorneys, right? You charge by the hour. Well, our profession is changing. We're not charging by the hour. We're doing fixed fees, and so knowing that you can get a better ROI on a client with this technology and then being able to invest in your team, sending your team to conferences, letting them do continuing education,
Right.
partnering with vendors, right? And I sit on a lot of advisory boards, and boy, I love having a voice at the table. I want to contribute and I want to say, hey, if you do XYZ, I'm going to be able to onboard these 10 more, 15 more clients because we're solving a problem for them. And so not every firm is going to be able to be on every single advisory board, but I think it's important to have a champion that connects with the vendor and communicates and articulates when things happen. So
Well,
I
and
think those are some of the critical things.
I agree, because being, a Botkeeper, being the vendor, being the tech, we want those types of conversations with the firms. Like, how can we help you solve problems? Now, obviously, we can't customize for each firm, but if we have those champions that are talking to us, like really partnering with us the way that you do, don't see us as just a tech company, but see us as a partner. When we hear reoccurring themes of pain points that firms are having, we want to solve that problem for all firms, right? So we'll figure that out together, but we need that type of partner, like the type of person like you at the firm that says, hey, we're in this together. Let's figure this out together. Let's be a team. Because we as the tech, we're venture backed. So your firm doesn't have to build it. We'll build it if it's a problem that everybody has, for sure.
Yeah, commonality to issues, and always have the lottery rule in effect with your firm, right? If somebody wins the lottery and leaves, you got somebody backing them up. And there's so much business to go around for all of these firms. I don't
Yeah.
think, I can't even remember. I mean, maybe a handful of times, not even, where I'd be bidding on a job that I knew somebody else was from a different firm. It's just there's so much work out there and available. So
It's true. That's
collaborating.
there's a supply and demand thing happening right now where clients are really asking for firms to help them in this new way. And they are demanding new things. They want dashboards. They want to be in the cloud. They want real-time financials. Like, the client is savvier and they're asking for a lot of new things. And a lot of the firms, tell me that they're turning this business away because they're afraid to grow because they don't have the talent or the time. And I can't think of any other profession that turns business away. Firms also tell me in this CAS space, they have a wait list for onboarding. They can't onboard clients fast enough. And so, there's a huge demand. There's a huge need. And that's why firms are running to CAS, because they're saying, okay, I'm going to build this machine. I'm going to build this engine. I'm going to figure out how to say yes to this ongoing demand. I want to be the one that says yes to all this new business. So you're right. There's so much business to go around, and the shift is happening. And so I hear a lot of firms, I've been doing this for a long time, I've been helping firms for over a long time, say to me, who do you know? Who do you know that I can hire because I don't have a CAS lead? Or who do you know that I can bring to my firm to help me build CAS? And so again, I'm super excited that you're doing this in this capacity because there's also a huge need for firms to have somebody come in and just build it and help them, because you have another piece of the puzzle, right? It's discovery, design, implement, and then
Supporting and coaching. So, and that can, it could just be that by itself, where, you know, I'm going to stay on top of this tech. I'm going to be at these conferences. I hope lots of firms come up and talk to me and ask questions and throw ideas out there. But staying fresh with the tech and being able for a firm to call us up and say, listen, you know, we're using this product and it's falling short. It's not meeting other needs. Do you know another product that we could possibly leverage? So all of those things, we're going to be there and be available for firms of multiple sizes, right? You may have, you know, top 500. You know, we're just getting this started. We're just getting it off the ground. Super excited. I've worked with several firms already. Got lots in the pipeline. So it'll be fun. It's going to be a magic carpet ride, I told Joe.
I think you're going to be off the races, and I know you're hiring more people to build this out, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. We've hired one person already. Press release hasn't gone out yet, so I can't tell you who that is. So you'll want to watch the Woodard site for the latest new hire for press release. But it is a practice development individual that I've known for years, and super excited they're joining the team. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're gonna be hiring a lot more people on the team too, because you're just one person building this all out. But I love that you're doing the support piece, because I think, like I mentioned, a lot of firms, listen, CAS isn't easy, and there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle, and it's also not traditional. And so the traditional firm that's tax and audit really struggles, and they will start CAS and stop and start CAS and stop, and they'll have a CAS lead that leaves. And it hasn't been the easiest because it's very different. Like you said, it's value billing, which the firm is not accustomed to. I mean, how can you, if you're using more technology, you can't bill by the hour. If you're going to save yourselves time, you can't bill by the hour, but the clients aren't valuing that ticking and tying and coding of transactions. They want to have their data clean and accurate. They want to have business discussions, right? And so you'll be leaving money on the table if you're not value pricing, but that's hard for firms. And so I think a lot of firms have had people leave because they're just not supporting, even though they're saying, and you might have leadership support saying, let's build CAS, but there's other folks at the firm that don't really support it or understand what it is. And so there's a lot of turnover on the CAS side. So having that support piece, right, where you don't go away, you just don't come in, design, implement, and leave, but you can continue to coach, you can continue to have fresh ideas, you can continue to bring in new technology if it makes sense, or whatever, you know, those conversations are of the future of the firm. You know, you're there to support them, not just do this and leave, right?
Right. And, you know, Deneen, I had a real epiphany. I was really fortunate. I was asked to attend Intuit's Tax Advisory Council last year, 8, 9 months ago. And I was sitting in that council where they were demonstrating new things with ProConnect and with QBOA. And I had this epiphany that came over me. And I was like, wow. I know what the next stage of this is. We talk about CAS 1.0, then CAS 2.0, but the next stage, and this is a prediction, but I believe that it is going to be immensely beneficial for these firms, is to be able to have the entire life cycle of a CAS client, where you take it through the pre-accounting with technology, you take it into the monthly close with technology, you do those controllership, or what folks may refer to as advisory, but then partner with tax and take it all the way through the tax return and tax planning and tax advising, because that is a life cycle of a client. They're wanting to grow their business. They're wanting to make an unbelievable amount of money. But we, as the firms, if we don't work together, right, and in these tax and CAS and audit, all in silos instead of as a team, the client's not going to be as successful. And so that was a huge epiphany for me. Like, I call up tax partners. I did at BDO a lot. Like, okay, I have a client. They're thinking about making an S corp election. What's the, what are the benefits of this? What can we take to the client? Hooking them up with the appropriate attorneys if there's an acquisition,
Yeah,
M&A. So really having a internal team designated per client, and so
yeah,
that the firm, right? That's when clients get
yes,
really
I agree.
sticky with multiple products. So we
Well,
got to blend it.
that's where the traditional firm model also, it's like been in silos, like the tax people hold on to the tax clients. And if that shift is happening, and in fact, if you look at Bergen, right, KVD, they were acquired
Hmm.
by what I think it's Creative Planning, which is a big, I think, wealth advisory company that was doing tax returns for free for their clients. And so
Hmm.
they went out and said, we want to acquire a firm, but not just for the tax talent, is for the cast client talent too. Because they're saying we want to offer more services to our current clients. And a lot of the more services, not just tax, but it's this holistic view of the client. So they want to be able to holistically serve the client and both the advisory, which could be client advisory and tax advisory. And so you're right, it all needs to be, you called it, I love the way you call it like peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? How do you say it? How do
I
you say
always say CAS and tax go together like peanut butter and jelly. They taste great together, but they stay on the right side of the bread.
it? There you go.
So But
But it's
but it's true. We got to take a step back. We got to look, from a high level within organization. A good percentage of partners are going to be retiring, in the next 5 years. We have this incredible younger generation. We don't have a lot. The percentages are low coming out of college. We know the AICPA is going to add a tech piece to the exam coming up in the future. So let's take a step back as thought leaders, as organizations, vendors, firms, and really look at the model, because
yeah,
I believe the ROI for a firm is going to be much more beneficial and can grow exceptionally quickly if we can get these units to be able to share the revenue. Change the thought process, because these partners, they hold on to that client because they're getting credit for the revenue, and it needs to be the firm client. It's
yeah.
not by partner. So I think there needs to be a shift in mentality, and I think that, you know, as the profession grows again, maybe into the CAS 3.0, and they call it CAS and tax, who knows?
Right.
I think that there's a lot of potential for these organizations.
Well, and so didn't BDO become a corporation? And
We
didn't
did.
it, what, right? Isn't that a part, that's a big step in that direction too, is they're no longer a CPA firm, right? They're a corporation.
They are a corporation. They're no longer a partnership. They're still a CPA firm, but they're no longer
Okay.
a partnership. And the way that I understood it, and of course, they made that transition May 1st, and I wasn't part of BDO at that
Okay.
time. But the way I understand it's a huge tax advantage. If you think about it, these partnerships, you know, like a BDO that's in how many states, every partner has to file a state tax return in
Oh,
every single state. When you become a corporation, you become a shareholder and you get a W-2 wage. Well, they're not going to have to file in all those states. Right. So there's some big tax advantages
huh,
for the partners as a whole. But I don't know all the details. I just
yeah.
know, what I read, and I've talked to several folks, and I just know that the position is it was a huge tax advantage for the organization.
And it's a big deal. I mean, to have a large firm like that make that switch, because I think we're going to see more to follow. I mean, there's a lot of change happening, in my opinion, finally in the profession. It's been really slow to make the shift, but the shift is happening. And to your point, I think firms really need to pause and think about what do I see this firm being in the next 3 to 5 years? What do we think firms are going to look like in 2030? I think it's going to look very differently
I
than it
agree.
looks right now, right?
Yeah,
And
I
so what do
agree.
we do right now to make this change, or to be what we want to be, in the next 10 years. And looking at what's going on around them too, and how all these other firms. And so that's where I get super excited for CAS, because I think CAS is the forefront of all of it because of the data. The people that sit on top of, or are in charge, not in charge, but are working with the transactional data, are the ones that have the relationship with the client, that really understands what the client needs, that really understands where the client is trying to go. They're talking to them not once a year, but every week, every month. And so that, I think, is CAS is the future of this, is the future of the firm and the shift that's happening. So I'm watching the time, Deb. We've got 4 more minutes. Is there anything else exciting going on in your life? Like, there's a lot of good stuff that you want to share that we can touch on.
Well, I want to make a recommendation as these organizations look at transition. There's a lot of M&A happening right now, and these firms they need to step up and really invest in their team. You hear firms get concerned. I'm going to invest $5,000-$10,000 in this person, and they're going to leave. But boy, you know how many people are boomerangs? You know how many people I've seen turn back around. So I think there's a lot to come. Firms just need to, just be willing to invest in their team. I think it's really important.
I mean, I think that's where firms have always been so client focused.
Mhm.
And a big part of the conversations I'm seeing this year at the conferences is the war for talent has been a challenge for years.
Yep.
It's continue. It's not getting better. And everybody wants an accountant. Everybody
Mhm.
wants an accountant. And they don't really want to go to firms. And so
Mhm.
that's the challenge is, how do you attract the talent? How do you keep the talent? How do you embrace the technology? Because there's talent out there that love the tech. Bring them in. They can help really change your firm, for the firm of the future. But you're right. I mean, I think firms recognize that they need to be talent first. I've been hearing a lot of conversations about culling clients, letting go of the difficult clients. Is that going to be, I'm sure that's going to be a part of your consulting and advising too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we never say fire clients. We always say optimize. We just optimize and get them in a better place.
I like that word. Optimize them and get them in a better place. Well, thank you so much, Deb, for joining me today. I'm very, very excited for you. I know that this is a role for you that you're just going to really thrive in. And I look forward to continuing to work with you and supporting you. And I think a lot of firms are going to benefit from what you and Wood are building.
Well, thanks, Deneen. Thanks for having me. I think the world of you.
Thank you, doll. All right, take care. Bye.